Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. It's episode 253, and I'm one of your hosts, Ben, joined, as always, by two lovely people. Lucy, being one of them. Hey.
Thank you.
And Aadil, being the other.
Hey. I'm the other. Not like the anthropologist, the other that people use to vilify.
That's
just
true.
An other.
Just
an other host.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my uncle, an other.
Wait, your uncle's Anne?
my uncle Alan, because obviously my surname is Nother. So on all of his things it was a Nother. And,
right.
Yeah.
Very confusing for people.
Yeah. I mean, why can't I just have a normal name?
So you actually have an Uncle Alan? Because my housemates were joking the other week.
He's dead now.
Oh. I mean, you still have him as an uncle. You have him in the ground.
That's true, yes.
Jesus.
I'm tactful. Let's just move on. I was going to say a needless anecdote about apparently everyone in this country has Uncle Alans, but it's fine.
Well, I mean,
I don't.
No.
That helps.
Let's open some beers and do what we've come here to do and chat about video games or around video games. Depends what we've played, I guess.
Round, square, I played them all.
Lucy, I see a mug. You're on the tea this evening.
On the tea.
That's
Are you
fantastic.
going to spill
Being
the tea?
dry. No, that's your speciality. Yes, I'm dry for another week in every sense of the word. So, being dry. Being dry is in not drinking, so that's no fun.
I mean, when you say every sense of the word, you kind of think...
Well, maybe not every sense of the word.
Adam, what are you drinking?
Everyone's dry in lockdown.
I mean, functionally, yeah, if not physically. I'm going to stop this line of conversation.
I don't know what was worse, but Alan talk or this.
Alan's definitely dry, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm drinking this beer, everyone.
Yeah.
It's a beer. It's in a tin. It's
nice.
The answer is within the question. It's an Imperial Manchester Tart Sour by Pomona Island.
Okay.
Brewed in collaboration with Cloudwater, this Imperial Sour with raspberries and coconut will only be sold by indie retailers and is not available in our web shop. It's been a hard slog for the industry, but as a community, we're strongest when we work together. A wise person once said, the answer is within the question. Yeah. And all it says, it has barley, oats, and wheat.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But it is a Manchester Tart Sour.
Nice.
In the before times, Cloudwater was one of the last breweries I visited in
Pomona?
December 2019.
Your little Manchester tour.
Yeah. Jeez. When I say like December 2019, that was over a year ago. Man,
Oh,
this has been going on for a while, hasn't it?
As now, yeah, absolutely. I'm also going to the north to start off this week, drinking a beer from Wylam called "You Can't Download the Future." It's an IPA. It is. Oh, hang on. Which one am I going to have first? I thought it was lower than that. It's 7.4%. What's my other one? What is my other one?
The other one's probably a triple, Ben, knowing you. So.
I don't think it is. But I can't see.
I did not look at that either.
I can't see on here. Oh, that's 8%. I'll stick with this one. That's fine. Yes. The answer. No, that's your beer. You can't download the future from Wylam. Oh, what's going on? We started off so well. The hops in this.
I keep calling back to your dead uncle. I don't think it's been going well at all.
The hops are Citraleaf and Cryo, Strata T90 and Galaxy T90. It also contains the allergens barley, gluten and wheat. That's everything from them. So yeah, 7.4% IPA to start.
When you said that you were going up north also, I was going to say, as is the new variant.
Oh,
Just
topical.
derail things even more. Anyway.
You've heard of tropical IPAs, but Lucy's pouring them topical IPAs.
Oh, good.
Oh,
good.
dear.
What a start. Adol, how's the beer?
Yeah,
Was
so
it-
I
hang on.
forgot to say what the ABV was.
And it was a Manchester
Tart
tart
sour.
sour. Right.
An Imperial Manchester Tart Sour, and the Imperial is
Oh.
definitely code for it be a 10% beer that I didn't look up until just now.
Nice.
That's fair.
This is a 10% beer.
Oh, that's good.
Ooh, it's deep.
It poured
It's
with a
red.
little bit of head, but it's all gone now. It looks like ready purple scroll. It looks like fruit punch.
Mm. It's got,
It smells like
got
quite
Ribena
tart
to it, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It's got a bit of Ribena to it.
Yeah, it definitely smells like raspberry. I'm not really getting the coke. So they said raspberries and coconuts were thrown in this. I think the coconut might be giving it a bit of a creaminess on the nose, but mostly it's just like light raspberry, almost no beer. You know, except for the fact that it's a little more effervescent because it is carbonated.
Mm-hmm.
It could easily just be a sort of raspberry squash.
Yeah.
On the nose.
A clean face.
Yeah. Ooh, I wasn't sure about this.
Okay.
But this is gonna take some unpacking. First sip was like super raspberry forward, also kind of raspberry on the finish. But this peak of like where the carbonation helped open things up, and then the fact that it is a beer, so it's this like peak of sourness in the middle of sort of phases of raspberry that were just like, yes, this is beer, which I was hoping would be the case because of course I hate it when a beer is so inundated with flavors that it loses the beeriness. This is definitely a sour. I also agree it's a tart sour. It's actually not that. It's like it's a sour, but it's quite laid back, except for the fact that it's super raspberry and it's raspberry tart. The raspberries are giving the tartness rather than the sour is still quite. So it's easy to drink. You're not like puckering your face up. It definitely has a creaminess to it. I think it's that coconut.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really feeling the coconut much in the flavor, but I think it's just smoothing things out.
Okay.
Now that my palate's got a little more used to it, it's still got this like sharp hit of tart. But I'm starting to notice the malts a little more now that I'm getting used to that tartness. But each sip, it's like tart, raspberry, and then it's like, okay, now when it's fading away, I'm starting to notice the other tastes. That's where my palate's acclimatizing. But every sip, it's still like, right, this is very much tart forward raspberry.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'll say is, fuck me, this is 10%. This is gonna go down real quick, I think, in possibly a problematic I haven't had dinner fashion. It's 440 mils as well. It's a hefta AVB. You cannot tell ABV. I said AVV. Yeah, I've had a few sips of this tenor. I really like it. In a way that it's the fact that it's interesting. It's very fruity and tart, like that raspberry tartness, but it still carries the beerness forward with it. And also like that, it's hitting me with these peaks of like, tart explosion in my mouth, but it's not like so sour. It's not, like I said, it's not puckering my palate. I can still notice all the other things because it's just this like, again, this like slight mild explosion of raspberry tartness, and then it's like, okay, this is actually a pretty laid back sour as far as like the beer sour tendencies rather than the sort of tartness that is coming from the raspberries. And so I think the raspberry is actually strong. Tartness is actually stronger than the sourness, which is good because then when the raspberry starts to fade, I'm having a nice medium level sour. Yeah.
Nice.
It's very good. How about you, Ben? How's your thingy that I interrupted?
Yes, you can download the future, which you probably can. in some sense of the word.
Yeah,
they're called
I
leaks.
pre-download games.
But is it the now?
Yes. Because it's literally just the license they switch on and that's it.
Beer. Almost a solid colour. The head has dissipated quite quickly. Lace is a little... Cunt. Fucking laced too much and spilled it all over me book. Brilliant.
Oh no!
A mild
Oh,
spillage.
there's always a spiller.
Not a knock.
Always a
Not a
spiller.
knock, which is good. It's alright. I've got a towel. It was on my radiator, so I can just use that and chuck it in the wash, can't I? Yes. Very light nose. Very hard to discern what's in that from the nose. I'll just jump in and taste it then. Ooh. Ooh, it's got a strong tropical fruit flavour. But a lovely kind of malt character to it as well. Like getting a slight, not dank note to it, but maybe I wouldn't say that this has been brewed that recently, but it kind of feels quite hoppy. It feels a little bit kind of green. So I'm getting those tropical fruits, but I'm also getting this very hoppy kind of flavour coming through as well. And those fruits are quite strong. Maybe a bit of passion fruit. Maybe a little bit of very, very ripe mango as well. Like super ripe mango. I can't remember what the hops were. Citra Leaf and Cryo.
Citra Leaf.
Citra Leaf and Cryo. And then Strata T90 and Galaxy T90. I don't know what Citra Leaf.
Maybe they just dumped in the leaves instead of the hops.
Maybe. But it's nice and creamy. That malt kind of backbone to it is definitely presenting with a bit of creaminess. There's no oats. It didn't say it's got any oats in it, but it definitely feels of that kind of level, like a built-out malt build in there as well.
I thought you did say there were oats. Just barley and wheat?
No, barley, gluten, and wheat.
Oh, gluten. That was,
yeah. But it leaves me mostly with the fruit, and that ripe mango, a little bit of passion fruit, as I say, and that stays strong throughout. And even now, it's a really strong fruity flavour to it, just with that little bit of that hop. Not quite hop burn. It's not quite a green sort of sense to it in terms of the hops. You know, it's not dank or anything, but it's definitely strong. It's definitely lifting those sort of fruity flavours. It's got a very slight kind of tartness to it, but I think that's more the ripe mango, and then the way that is sort of sitting on my palate. But it's very nice. Unlike yours, Aadil, I think this might be one I sup quite slowly because it's such a big flavour, because it's so strong. I don't need to go back to it. It's not particularly dry. If anything, it's a little more wet than most of the IPAs I've had recently. So I'm not having to reach for it at all. And I think the 7.4% is maybe... You could pick that up through how hoppy it is, through that super ripe sort of flavour to it. Definitely leaves a sweetness sort of towards the end. So I might actually sip this. This might go back, quite slowly for a change, I guess. I mean, I'm already like 3 beers in, so it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? How quickly I drink it. So yeah, I'm just gonna chill and enjoy.
Do your thing. Yeah, I do notice because it's so tart and refreshing. I sort of didn't grok the ABV, but like it is thicker than like the squash that it's reminiscent of. So you can kind of tell that it is more boisterous than say like these stouts I've been having recently that I've been lamenting are sort of sub 5% or lower. But again, because it's such a refreshing, summery, raspberry forward thing, it's very easy to just be like, yes, juice.
Yes. Yeah. Dangerous.
See, unless you had 3 and you were in a park.
Right. Let's move on from what we're drinking. We'll enjoy these. We'll crack them back. Lucy, just to round out the drinks, what kind of tea are you drinking?
Normal tea.
Okay.
Normal English breakfast kind of tea.
Yeah.
PG Tips.
Ah, yes. The
Probably.
patented pyramid bag.
No plastics in that one.
I don't know. I don't know what brand it is. I just said PG Tips because it's the only one I can think of.
That's fair.
I don't buy the tea bags that they say.
No, and I don't even drink tea, so I only know 3 tea makers: Aldi, Morrison's, and PG Tips.
Yeah, I don't really. I've been drinking tea more.
Okay.
These days. I think it's just the substitute for alcohol.
That's fair.
I realised I drank a lot of tea during January. I don't know what that is.
Just to keep warm, huddle over as well.
Yeah, instead of a 10% Imperial sour, just drank a cup of tea.
It's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Cool.
Otherwise, I only drink just water and beer, so it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's fair. You've got to have that third drink in there. I mean, I don't really drink water. I just drink coffee and beer most of the time. So water's almost a bit of a novelty for me.
So that's why you got to get a soda stream. And then you could have bubbles, but not alcohol.
It's Bristolian water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not as good as Birmingham water. Love that stuff.
It's all right. I mean, Bristol
That's
was
northerners.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I mean,
but
to try and drag it into some kind of beer or video game conversation, there is definitely a quality to the Birmingham breweries. So, having had is it Glass House I drank the other day, and having had lots of Dig beers previously, and coming up to Birmingham, I mean, all of them have had this like nice quality to them that you do see with, say, like Verdant or those Cornish kind of brewers, and in sort of other places as well, and a lot of people put that down to the water quality. And I think that's probably true for Birmingham as well. Like a lot of those Birmingham breweries do have not a similar flavour, but they have a similar quality to them, I think.
Yeah, so it's not hard water. I mean, it's nothing compared to up north, but it's good. It's decent.
Yeah. Nice.
That's not just because I'm used to it.
Yeah. You drank it for 30 odd years, and you're just like, it's fine. Is what it is.
I mean, London water. I mean, if I still lived in London, then I'd definitely be saying this is terrible. I was born, raised on that. So yeah.
Fair, absolutely fair. So we will talk about some video games. I was going to sort of jump straight in with my very brief topic, because I haven't done a huge amount over the last week in terms of playing games. I played a little bit more Shattered. Nowhere near as much as I previously played when I talked about it last week. Only a couple more hours, and it is more of the same. Hard boss battles, floaty mechanics, that hasn't sort of changed, but again, it's linking its spaces amazingly well, and that movement through the world is good. The linking of spaces and the shortcuts that open up, and even not even between the areas, like within each area, finding that gate and be like, I can just then come up with, if I die and I go back to that little well, the black sort of cube that's sat there, I can just come up these stairs now, and I'm back, after half an hour's sort of progress. So it does that very well, and I will keep plugging away at that game. It's definitely one to sit with and take my time over. with it being sort of like a Souls-like sort of style game. But I'm not going to talk about Outriders, but I did start the Outriders demo. Aadil, you and I are going to be playing this on stream tomorrow. So anyone listening to the podcast version can go to the YouTube channel, Outriders Network, and find probably the VOD up at the weekend at some point to see our experience. But I played through the prologue, and I know you stopped in there. We stopped in the same place, so we can link up together and play together, essentially. But the thing I wanted to talk about, which is something we've touched on in various episodes, is accounts. Random publisher and game accounts. Because to play the Outriders demo, you've got to have a Square Enix account. Fine.
Or 7.
Well, I imagine lots of people have got multiples now because it's so fucking frustrating to try and work that account out. Like, I think I've only ever signed up for a Square Enix account, or what used to be called a Play Online account, which was actually a Sony run thing back from Final Fantasy 11, right? And I've had various other games like the more modern Tomb Raider games, lots of other Square Enix games where it says at the start, sign into your Square Enix account and get a gun,
free bow
or
and
a
arrow,
skin, or something, essentially. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that, cool, why not? And it just logs in through my PSN. So going to do this then on the PC, I'm like, what is this? What is my actual account? And it took me a while to work out that it was actually tied to a dead email. Well, not a dead email. It's not dead. It's one I just do not use and forward to my my current email. One from when I was a kid, which is the most awful email address you can possibly think of, that you thought was funny when you were like 14 and set it
What
up.
is it? Come on.
No,
What is it?
I can't. It's actually offensive. When I think about it, it is a little bit offensive.
Maybe not.
Huh?
Maybe don't say.
No, I'm not gonna.
You've grown as a person since, clearly.
The only reason I haven't closed it down and kept it back is because I don't know what is tied to this email, which is why I just don't use it to forward everything.
Spam.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is really. But I worked out that it was tied to this email. I then had no idea what my password was, and it took me a while to then get through the process of getting a new password, changing my email on that account to the one that I use now. And I mean, it must have taken me a couple of days to do that, because it gives you 3 tries with your passwords, and I'm like, yep, must be this one. No, not that. Yep, must be this one. No. And then it will just lock you out for a while. And busy life, doing other stuff, I came back to it periodically over a couple of days to try and sort it out. I managed to do that, forgetting my password, going through the security questions and all of that sort of stuff, and even then going, is this the security question I picked? Is this the actual answer to that security question that I set up back in like 2009 or something like that? And I went through all of that and did all of that sort of stuff. But then I couldn't log on. And every time I tried, it said, this email and password combination is invalid. Like, no, but I've changed it. I've done it. This is what it is. This is it.
This is the new shit.
Yeah. And it was trying to then tie my Steam account to the Square Enix account. And with Outriders, I can understand why they want you to have an account, because you have that cross progress across platforms. So they need something central for you to sign into to be able to exchange information, I guess, between the different platforms. So I can now go in and sign in on my PlayStation and have the characters that I've created and all the progress that I've done on the PC. Fine, I've got no problem with that. But just make it fucking easy to actually get into. I had to, and I don't know whether I could have just done this from the off, but when you go to do it, it brings up a Steam page, brings up this Square Enix like external page through Steam, and says login password, or login through Final Fantasy 14/11. Yep, log in through some other Square Enix thing, or log in through something, or tie it to Facebook, or Google or something else,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, but I've not got any of these things, right? I don't have these, and I don't want to tie it to Facebook because I've got an account. I'm trying to use it. So what I ended up doing was downloading Final Fantasy 14, setting up the free trial for Final Fantasy 14, associating that with my account, and then going back on Steam and clicking, I have an account with Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. And it instantly logged me in. And I don't know whether it would have just logged me. Had I have just clicked that without tying Final Fantasy 14 to my account, would it have just recognised my Square Enix account? I've got no idea. But
I bet it only allowed people who actually play that game.
I mean,
That's what it is. It's like you could. This is a good way to introduce people to portfolio.
Oh, absolutely. And Aadil, you and I are going to play Final Fantasy 14 from next week for a few weeks.
They got you. It worked.
It's done. It's done. Yeah, absolutely.
Problem solved.
But it did make me remember all of the fun I had with Final Fantasy 11 back in 2009 or whenever that was. But it was just such a laborious and awkward way to try and get through all of my accounts, and it gave me kind of insight, or at least thanks for several different systems that I now employ, like remembering passwords on certain kind of like programs, and having centralized accounts for or retaining kind of certain logins with things and usernames with things, and having like a themed password, which I've got like 10 different versions of, but it's all themed around the same thing, so it's all quite easy for me to try and remember those various different things. Like, it just made me think, right, that's done, I know it now, this is what it is, Google's just going to remember it for me anyway. Fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be saying on the internet that your passwords are similar.
Yeah.
Slightly.
No, they're not similar. They're not similar. They're just they're themed, essentially. So if someone goes, it's obviously themed around rabbits. I'm sorry, rabbit 123, bunny man 46. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah. But I mean, I don't even know what this. Apart from this transfer between platforms from this Square Enix account for this progress through Outriders, like, it's not like any of the other ones where you can go, I'll click onto my Uplay account and it will tell me that I've done these 20 things in this Assassin's Creed game, and I've done these things in this Far Cry game, and it links all of those products. I log into it, and it's the most basic system. Just, these are your details. You have no subscriptions. Would you like to
no
buy
characters.
currency? Yeah. That essentially, it's it. I'm like, oh, cool. Why does this exist? Why has this existed? Why does it exist for
your data,
fucking...
mate.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
exactly what it is.
It's literally... So the problem is FF14 came out, 2015 or something? And it's their upgrade to play online, which was made so that PC and PlayStation people could play FF11 together. Yep. And the FF14 portal is literally coming from the same like accounts.squareenix.com place. And it's just slightly better, but essentially trying to do the same thing, like you said, which is cross-play amongst any platform that can do it. And the whole purpose was just, you can't trust the Steam account or you can't trust the PSN account because they won't share information across them. So we'll just add a layer. But I hadn't clocked that, like, because I haven't. Last time I played one of those Tomb Raider games, I don't think I bothered hooking it up.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really considered, you might have a Square Enix account that isn't attached to either of these things. Because I have my old account. I have actually two Square Enix accounts because I made the mistake of. So I have my FF11 account, Wily Kit, which is also my FF11 character, because when you get to play as a cat warrior, you're going to be Wily Kit or Wily Cat, and you could only be females if you're a cat for FF11, so I was Wily Kit.
Makes sense.
And that's the only reason I had the account. But then I started FF14, And then when an expansion came out, I was like, oh, I will go back to this game. So I bought the key off of CD Keys or whatever, but it was a Steam key and not a Squeenix key. And so then I had to make a new account with that one that had that gave me the base game and the 2 expansions I owned already, but not plus the one I bought.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't mesh them at all, despite the fact that there's this account structure that Square Enix has that's supposed to solve this type of problem. It's like, no, because you could buy this without Steam or with Steam, and we're trying to solve the console PC co-logging in problem. Not that we're selling it on multiple ways to PC people, and fuck you if you get it wrong. So I have obviously the Omniarch because that's my regular handle. So I'm Squeenix the Omniarch and Squeenix Wily Kit, and the one with the higher level character doesn't have all the content because it doesn't have one of the expansion passes. So when you mentioned like, do you want to go back into it? I'm like, yeah, I might even like grab an old character because maybe I could power level, or maybe, just sometimes it's useful to have that body that, make a new character on the server, but like, I can grab, all that stuff. And it's like, but my highest level character, because I gave up on the game real quick after, mostly I think because I was just fed up with things that I had to redo those initial levels from a couple years before, that I only got to level 12, which is sad because I bought a whole new game for it. But yeah, I totally, it's so much dumber when you factor in like this type of, I bought an expansion for a game on the PC that I owned, and then it didn't matter, and I couldn't use it, even though the publisher has their own platform of accounting. So I should have been able to, because the publisher doesn't accept Steam codes. So when you buy a Steam code on sale, it can only be used on Steam, but you can't associate your Steam copy with an account that exists on their platform, and their platform will sell you a key.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, I bought it here, and I own this. Nope. Once you bought a game once you're in a Squeenix account, you just have to buy everything at full price and not on sale from them. Or hopefully you bought it on Steam to begin with, and then you can add it to your account because Steam has a way of doing that trumps the other things, right?
Well, they keep 100% of the profits, so I understand why they have their own launches. But
yeah, it just seems real dumb that like
some publishers
not well
have that
advertised
way
that,
you
like,
can link your, just down like Fortnite does this, doesn't it? Don't they? I don't know. Where all your, or maybe it's just cross progression rather than having all your items and stuff like that being available. I don't think they do that because obviously it's like platform holders want that money. So,
but I think if I, oh no, and that's the other thing. It's like, I believe if I tried to play FF14 on the PlayStation, I would have to buy all of the software PlayStation version.
Yeah. Because PlayStation won't their cut. So.
But then if I owned both games, if I owned the game on Steam, Squeenix, and PlayStation, then I could use the same account and use my character across all of them. If I bought... No, I could. It would either be Steam and PlayStation if I bought it on the same account, or Squeenix and PlayStation. This is dumb.
It would be worth you having a quick login to the base Square Enix accounts page, because I think from memory there was something talking about account linking on there. So it'd be worth a little investigation into that, about whether now there's a way of you being able to link those accounts and seeing what it is. But it might just be not linking to Final Fantasy 14 accounts, it might be linking a Final Fantasy 11 to a Final Fantasy 14 to your general Square Enix account. I mean, I don't know, because I know I only have one. But it's a kind of a an interesting point. And some news I saw earlier was that Epic have bought Mediatonic, who make Fall Guys, which came as not a surprise, because Epic have been buying up smaller studios, like Psyonix and those sorts of things. Yeah. Studios that have been associated as well with Sony and with PlayStation a little bit more. Rocket League, Fall Guys, 2 very big multiplayer games which released as PS Plus games on their launch. But then I remembered that Sony also hold stock in Epic Games, and that like Tencent hold loads of stock in Epic Games and also are associated with Sony in some kind of way as well. And like all of these companies which are like, no, this is separate, this is separate, this is separate. Like actually they've all got their fingers in each other's bumholes anyway, haven't they? So like it's just get it together. Just I can understand through like competition law and monopolization why you cannot just be one big fucking company, but sort it out, right? We've only just seen recently, in the last year or 18 months, games like Fortnite pushing the way for that cross play, and then cross progression also coming as a not even a byproduct of that, but coming a little bit later after for lots of things, and things like Destiny 2 introducing that, and those sorts of perpetual online big massive games going, maybe this is a good idea. You should be able to take your one account that you've got and all of the characters and just be able to play it wherever you want to.
It would be consumer friendly, but like, how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I bought Destiny on PlayStation"? I know Destiny's free to play now, but
but the expansions aren't, right?
Yeah, I think
it's free. It's free to pay in a very limited capacity, as we have found out.
But yeah, how many people have you heard say, "Oh, I was playing on PlayStation, and then all my friends started playing on PC, so I bought the PC copy"?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's 2 times the money from not every consumer, but a lot of consumers. So.
Completely. And consoles, at least PS3, 360, PS4, Xbox One generation, wanted everything to be exclusive, especially multiplayer wise, because if you want to play Battlefield or Call of Duty or whatever with your 2 mates and they've already got the next gen system, you're going to buy the same system because you want to play the game with them. So it ties you in based upon what your friends have got, and kind of, you're not getting to kind of pick where you want to play. It's not peer pressure as such, but you're not given any choice. And now, as you say, Lucy, it's more pro-consumer that we're having this cross-play between different platforms and things. But it's got so much more to go
behind it.
Yeah.
You know what the solution is? Don't play multiplayer games.
I mean, that's true.
Don't fucking play games. They're for babies.
Yeah.
Just multiplayer games.
No,
I still don't know what Outriders is. I've never heard of the game before.
Would you like me to tell you? It's a very brown game.
Is it a live service game?
I mean, it probably is a live service game. It's very brown. There's lots of mud.
Is it a shooty?
It's a shooty. It's third person.
But it's not a jumpy. To my chagrin, because I keep wanting to jump, and I can't jump at all.
Is it a shooter?
It's a shooter. It's a very Destiny style, but also maybe
it's
quite Gearsy.
It's more like Division-y.
It is, but
who made this game?
Square Enix.
People Can Fly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Bulletstorm?
Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like, it's a bit of Gears crossed with sort of like a Division style game.
Okay.
But it's
sort of hard to tell because
Is there loot?
There's lots of loot.
Okay, it's a shooter.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, so far the loot I've found is mostly just
cog tags,
ammo and stuff. But
Well,
like we've
only played the
we
pilot.
both haven't played the game properly because we played until you could start playing with another person. Because it's about 30-45 minutes of plot heavy, minimal gameplay to get in, which would be fine if you weren't trying to explicitly play with a friend, and or if it was the game and not the demo, which I get that the game is trying to do a lore dump at the beginning and front load some things, but when you're giving a demo, you get to cut extraneous cutscenes, so that people can discover them when they buy the game. Because like, even if I wasn't, so I know like Ben and I spoke about this off air, but like it was really frustrating because it was like get to the point where I can then stop playing so I can wait for Ben, and that's a unique circumstance. But overall, it's like I spent 45 minutes playing, not a lot, and when there was combat, it was very clearly like very easy. To the point where I was like, oh, I got a message, and I just checked it without even going into cover on this cover-based shooter because I'm like, I'm not gonna die. Like, and that's fine for a tutorial, but then when it's wrapped around 10-15 minutes of cutscenes on either end of this dumbass gameplay, it's like, well, I the systems you're introducing are interesting. I assume all the enemies will be smarter and harder to beat when the game proper starts, but now you're just making me think, meh.
So have they actually like put the first part of the game? Is that not the demo?
Yeah, so demo is not the right word for it, really. It's not a beta and it's not a demo. It is the first. So the game also like goes up in tiers. So you've got this big world to be able to play through, but you can play it on like, and it's their difficulties, right? So tier 1 is easy, tier 2 is like normal or medium, tier 3 is not that difficult, and this goes all the way up to tier 15, I think, for the game. And the first 5 tiers are unlocked in this portion, but it's basically the beginning of the game. It's the first 5 tiers and up to like level 7, and it's locked into a certain region of the bigger world for you to be able to kind of play and experience. And you can, when the game releases, if we purchase the game, we can just start from the position that we have got to. So we haven't got to go through.
What's it called again? I want to Google it.
Outriders, all one word.
So we haven't got to go through any of the, we haven't got to go through any of those cutscenes again. We haven't got to do any of that prologue sort of stuff.
When's it? Do you remember when its release date is? Because
it's the 1st of April, I think.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because if it's much further than that, I would be annoyed because I would not remember.
Yeah.
And then have to go through the thing that I should be happy to go through in the actual game, but I didn't because I was annoyed because it was like, yeah, it's just, I think it's an unbalanced notion of a demo just because they're doing a lot of world building in the beginning of this game, which in and of itself is fine, right? Like there's no problem with world building in the front of a game, but when it's your demo on a multiplayer game, etc., and you're sort of forced to do it, and then your concession is, well, in a month and a half, if you buy the game, you won't have to sit with this again. It's an odd.
Yeah, I looked at some gameplay because I've never seen this game, and I just went to anywhere in the video. I was like, let me just get to this. And I saw a Destiny menu with like a cursor in it, and I was just like, I think I've heard enough. I think I've heard enough, and I think I've seen enough.
We'll see how well it holds us. The amount of times in both the Division and the Division 2 that we played together a little and got to do stuff, and obviously life gets in the way of these sorts of things. But Outriders very much suggests that it is like a single person game. So there's a narrative through and all of this sort of stuff, but you can it's like a co-op narrative game rather than it being a multiplayer perpetual world type of thing. They're trying to change that very slightly, and who knows whether they're going to be successful in that, based on the idea that you go through tiers, so you're playing through the same areas, just slightly harder when you jump up through different tiers and things like that. But those kinds of games which on paper sound fantastic just haven't, at least for me, held me long enough to do a huge amount in.
Yeah, if you told me this was Destiny, I'd 100% believe you. Just looking at the video, but you think it's weird that they it's because Square Enix have the Marvels game, and that was a bit of a
They
damp
do.
squib.
Yes.
Like, do you see them? Like, I don't know what the development on this game is, or how much, of Square Enix's budget it accounts for, but do you think those two are, compatible to have running at the same time? And just think,
I mean,
they're
they
very
clearly
different.
must have, because they were co-developed, right? Like, these things take years to make, and if this is coming out now, and Marvel's TM, The Avengers, came out last year, then we know that they. But I mean, also, but Crystal Dynamics made Avengers, right?
Yeah. It just
and
seems
that.
like having two things in your portfolio that are.
So I think, yeah, I mean, I do think that part of it is that I think they cater to different audiences, the two games, just from what I've seen. This feels more, Avengers seems more like, hey, you like this property, play a game with or without your friends or whatever. And this seems to be trying to give some world building and some lore in the same way Destiny does, in the sense of, like, there's a world, but also you're doing this. And I think they're trying to toe the line, as Ben said, of, like, the world matters more than, say, Destiny cares about it. In that it seems to, solo play seems to be a thing that's encouraged, although I've read mixed reviews depending on your class whether that's easy. But I think these things are. I think what they're thinking is we can capture more people in the market and trap them in our service games as a service model. Because I don't think the people who want to play Outriders are the people who want to play
your
Avengers.
bets.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like Marvel, here's the thing for you. Do you think there's a world in this does well and they just scrap whatever they're going to do with Marvel?
I think they're going to scrap whatever they're going to do with Marvel anyway, because it hasn't launched well.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just wondering if, like,
but I don't
have anything to say about that.
I think these are separate things.
Yeah,
they are.
Okay,
but also,
interesting.
I don't know who developed the Marvel game.
Crystal Dynamics.
Oh, Crystal Dynamics. So they're very much tied in. They're a Square Enix developer, right? They're owned by Square Enix.
They're an in-house developer versus, I think...
People Can Fly are not.
Yeah.
So People Can Fly made Painkiller, Bulletstorm, and Gears of War Judgment. And they are currently in partnership with Take-Two Interactive, working on a new original AAA title. And they are in partnership with Square Enix making Outriders. So they are an independent studio who are looking for support and funding for various projects, and they have linked up with these things. And I guess it's more Square Enix's decision that they went, this will complement, I guess, our portfolio. It is a maybe not quite a live service thing, but it's like a Destiny-like game. We don't have something like that. Marvel is its own thing, right? Marvel people who love Marvel will play the Avengers game, and that might pull in some other people who like those kinds of games. This is just a bit different, I think. So it's not an in-house one either. They just, I guess, went, have you seen the footage of Marvel? Maybe we need another game to come up with a similar sort of thing.
I still want to. I don't know how well this game's going to do, but just to be a cruel, evil person, I'm putting bets on that the servers get shut down within 5 years on this.
5 years. Oh, God, no. Any game as a service, except maybe Destiny 2, now that they've made it clear that there won't be Destiny 3, because they've rejigged their way of doing it. I think they're all... 5 years is a long time for video games.
I don't think it is. Like Battleborn, didn't that get recently shut down? That might still be going, who knows?
No, it is shut down, Battleborn's definitely shut down now. Yeah.
Oh, Battleborn died fucking within 6 months.
No, but I think, when did they shut the servers?
That was recent.
Wasn't it recent?
That was last
year.
Yeah.
When was that out? Like 2016 or something? And that was dead on arrival, so that's why I'm saying, like,
I liked it. I played the beta and liked it, and I was very sad that Overwatch beat it.
Yeah, these games hang around for longer than you think.
What was the game?
Was this year,
Aadil, you and I played it. It was like an arena-based MOBA, but a
Paragon?
third-person shooter. Paragon, yeah.
It was very bad.
Looked fucking
I didn't
fantastic.
like it that much.
Beautiful looking game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. January 2021 from May 2016. 5 years on.
Oh, it was this year.
Just.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. These
January
games hang on
25th.
longer than you think. You know.
I didn't think that. I mean, it's because keeping the server on. So I guess the thing is,
doesn't
I was
cost
thinking of like
much.
when they gave up all development, right?
Oh no! That'll happen.
Yeah, you're
within
talking
a
about
year.
like there's a
Actual
closet
server.
in the corner that's just running the 5 matches it needs to run because there's 25 people total who play the game. Yeah.
I hope that.
Yeah, I
doesn't
guess
happen.
I hear what you're saying then.
But, you know.
I mean, this is sort of the problem with games as a service right now. I think today's Jimquisition, well, today when we're recording it, was talking about Anthem, and it's them finally giving that up. But I really hope they stop trying to do this all the time because it's just this stupid half-assed, not real game. I mean, I guess it's hard because like if you just commit to one of these, you'll get more hours in than your whatever, like I don't know, the Last of Us 2, right? You'll play more game hours. You might not get more enjoyment, and you're doing a lot of that because you own the thing and you just want to play a game like this, and this is the one you own. And I think that's why they keep getting away with these botched launches and leave a server or two on and say you're not abandoning the audience, but you are, because what you need to do is fix the problems and provide the content that you were going to provide, but you didn't because you had to spend extra man hours fixing the content you didn't fix. And so
also,
long as that's
you've moved most of your team onto the next project because it wasn't as financially viable as you thought, and you have to then pump out the next one.
And you get away with it because as long as you made some monies, right? And as long as consumers still let you get away with this, you get to do it, even though it's like a super inefficient way of doing a thing that no one really wants to do. The developers don't want to make a bad game or a game that is kind of abandonware, right? Like consumers want a real good game, but that's just like it's a market failure that's consistent, that will, unless you have someone at the top saying, actually, this is too much of a gamble. If it fails, it's just fucking everyone. What if we made a game that had a story that people wanted to play?
It's just when they hold the tinfoil ball over here and say, look over here, it's Mass Effect 5, and then everyone forgets how terrible like Andromeda was, and there's like just gets the Men in Black erase.
I mean, not even Mass Effect 5, just a remaster, just more textures, more pixels. That's all.
It's not even a new
need.
Mass Effect. It's a remake, and it's like I think anyone who would want to play Mass Effect again has probably played Mass Effect 18 times already. So,
the thing is, if that comes out, I'm going to.
Oh God, you're going to stream
probably play Mass Effect the trilogy finally. When everyone's hyping about it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can just finally install this off of Steam or whatever. It's probably Origin. It is Origin. So I might not even be able to play it because Origin will have been part of Epic Games, but then it turns out it's incompatible and they just lose your library, and that's just how the accounts work.
You could. This is an aside, but you could play those games already. But yeah, if they got a fresh new pay of.
The thing is, though, I don't think I would spend the money to get the Code of Paint. But when people start talking about it again, I might be like, right, I own this game. I'll just play the old version. Like that's what this push for the trilogy is reminding me of. Like, oh, this has been on my to-play list for ages.
And they're fun.
And they obviously only remastered it because they've got a new one coming out. So.
Yeah, at some point in the next year or two, they need to build that hype for the next one. Yeah.
Introduce new players like
new Mass Effect, new Dragon Age.
I tried playing the third one. It's obviously not my kind of game, but I'm just like, not for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Not every game is.
Fair enough.
Lucy, in a moment, we'll find out what games are for you. We're going to come to you next and talk about whatever it is you want to discuss this week. But Aadil, you ready for another beer?
Yeah, I am. I need to rinse this Tart.
Yep, that's fair. That conversation went on for a lot longer than I thought it would. I was ready just to come on and moan about my shitty few days of trying to navigate Square Enix's account management
like a
system.
headache. I would have given up. Yeah, it's like I've had issues with just launchers. Like the Bethesda account was one of them. I was just trying to like redeem something for free. I couldn't log into it. I couldn't just do the simple thing of just logging into the launcher. My password was right and everything. It was saying my password was right. It's like, no, it's not, because I literally just made an account. How can the password be wrong? But yeah, I was just like, you know what? It's not worth the hassle.
Absolutely.
Keep your free game. There's probably like Doom 2, which I own, which I can just download a mod for at this point. So and I was just like, you know what? I don't care.
Games that you can emulate very easily.
Yes.
Like, come and give us all of your data
Even
to
if
have
they
this
were
game.
giving away like a free copy of Doom Eternal if I hadn't bought it or whatever, I'd have just been like, no, it's not worth my hassle. It's not worth the hassle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, just let it go. Just let it go. It's dead now.
Yeah.
Those free Ubisoft credits, let it go.
Oh,
Ezio doesn't need a new code.
That's another thing.
But that's you're leaving credits on the table.
I don't mind.
That's how they get you, right?
Just let it go.
There's a way to find all of the. You can pay 500 Uplay points to get a map to all of the feathers in Assassin's Creed.
I remember
feathers or flags. Flags.
Yeah, I remember buying a Far Cry something or other.
Free?
3? No, actually, I think it might have been an Assassin's Creed because it was the same price on sale. Yeah, I mean they're all the same game. It was the same price on a sale on Steam as Uplay.
Yeah.
But because I had accrued so many Uplay points, I could spend them for a 20% discount.
Oh, yes, they do that. Yeah.
And I was like, cool, yeah, I'll do this. Never played the game because I never turned on the fucking client to know that I owned this game. So just like it was Syndicate, I think, or one of that era of
Unity that they gave away for that. They've literally given it. I think I have like 17 copies of that game because they've given it away.
And it's also the version of Unity where everyone is just a pair of eyes. That's it. No heads at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really waiting.
I bet they set a light to Notre Dame just so that we can like. I can sell Unity. Another opportunity to sell Unity again. Someone just went there with like a Ubisoft employee just there.
To be fair, it's Ubisoft. Went, so, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. They do what the fuck they like. I don't give a shit.
Any reason to give away Unity?
Touch who they want. Torch what they want. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm really waiting for Assassin's Creed CryEngine, the spiritual sequel to Assassin's Creed Unity.
Oh. Let's open it. Let's have another beer. Adam, what are you going to open? What's your next beer?
I've got this lovely beer. It is the Big Cinder Toffee Stout from New Bristol Brewery. It is a blowtorched honeycomb at 6.5%.
Ooh.
It contains barley, oats, wheat, and lactose. There we go. I was like, no, there isn't. A bigger, crunchier version of our award-winning Cinder Toffee Stout, described as liquidized crunchy bars in a stout. Smooth, decadent, and deliciously indulgent.
Nice. That sounds really nice.
Yeah. I was just thinking like the honeycomb and then. I wonder how sweet that's going to be, but
Oh god, it smells like crunchy from here. I just cracked the tin.
I might actually.
It literally smells like a crunchy bar.
Because somewhere close to me has started. They had a drop of New Bristol Brewery beers, so just thought I should try that.
Nice.
I haven't had a crunchy bar in probably about 25 years.
Really?
I just taste it now. I don't
one
eat
of my
chocolate,
favorite
so
beers.
like
Beers, chocolate.
I don't eat chocolate, so it's like when someone says, "Oh, Lion Bar" or something. I'm just like, I remember it, but it's just like, God, I haven't had that in absolute age.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Snickers.
I am going to open a beer from Left Handed Giant. This is called Breathing Conversations. So it's part of a Finback hosted event beer, a global conversation about race, injustice, and equality to be the change we seek. There's a lot of flavour text. No, there's not a lot of flavour text. It's not flavour text at all. It's actually a quote from Makala's book, Natives. Why can't you just get over it? It's all in the past. These two statements often run together. Apparently, history is not there to be learned from. Rather, it's a large boulder to be gotten over. Let's imagine for a second that humanity did indeed get over, which in this case means forget the past. Well, we'd have to learn to walk and talk and cook and hunt and plant crops all over again. We'd have to undo all of human invention and start from when? What period exactly is it we are allowed to start our memory from?
1992.
Yeah, well, exactly. Those that tell us to get over the past never seem to specify, but I'm eager to learn. In reality, of course, they just don't want to have any conversations that they find uncomfortable. So that a quote from Makala from his book Natives, which I think is in the first or second chapter. Can't remember. Read it last year. Good, very good book.
Oh,
Sort of autobiographical as well. But yeah, that's about it. Doesn't tell me.
Don't forget history. Learn from it.
Exactly that. It is an 8% double IPA. Barley and oats are the allergens. That's all it tells me that is in here. So that's it.
Interesting. Yes.
Adam, we'll come back to you.
I want to know how that is.
Oh wow, it really does just smell a little sweeter. I think that's the lactose. So it's the nose has got quite sweet compared to a crunchy bar, which is still honeycomb sweetness, but it's got just so the nose is quite a bit sweeter than I was expecting, but it's definitely this honeycomb. And there's something else. There's like some hint of something else that I can't quite place. Ooh. Oh, that is. So it's a little thin on the mouthfeel. I'm just saying that to kill time while I missed some flavor text. It says taste like Friday, but also hops, East Kent Goldings.
Okay.
Oh, that aftertaste. Sorry. This is hitting me in weird ways. Well, in good ways. The aftertaste is burnt toffee. Mm-hmm. I mean, like it's literally what it says on the tin. It tastes like a crunchy bar, but more burnt. You're getting a little more of that roasted notes. It's just more depth than the generic crunchy bar. It's definitely sweet forward with that lactose not being processed. Again, a little sweeter than I'd like personally, but I mean, you're having a crunchy bar in a can beer. I mean, it'll be fine. I'm not saying it's like outrageously sweet. It's just, and I'm getting used to it, and so I'm getting a little more of that honeycomb burnt malty taste earlier, which is helping. But it's like I said, a little thin because it's 6.5%. But mostly just because it's so strong, and you got these burnt tastes, and it feels like it wants to be full, and then the mouth feels just a little light, and I think that's why I noticed that kind of quickly. This is a beer I might actually sip slowly, just because the finish is quite long, and you get that honeycomb and you get that burntness, and they're interleaved, so they sort of can take their turns. So you're like, you can just sort of tune into the finish, which is very long, and be like, oh, it's a little sweet, and then you're like, that burntness, and it's really enjoyable. And it's like I said, it's stronger in that burntness, but not like it doesn't taste burnt, but it's just a little more depth than like a crunchy bar. But it's still the same sort of ideas.
What's this beer called again? I'm going to look for
It is the Big Cinder Toffee Stout.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, that one. It looks like this. This man
Very
is in the
nice.
middle of the Cinder Toffees, and he's stout of character.
I think it came. They brewed it week before last, maybe.
Yeah, it's quite new, I believe. A little earlier than that, I think, because I think I bought it a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually torn because I love that finish, but they're like that more crunchy bar, but obviously not like I'm drinking a chocolate bar. It's not a beer. Taste is really good. I'm actually, this is like my ideal, right? Where it's a finish I really enjoy, but the initial taste is also so good that I'm fighting myself on how quickly I drink because I want to have all the bits maximized.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's a little more burnt forward than a crunchy bar, and I think that lactose sweetness is really helping smooth it out. But it is not like drinking a chocolate bar. It's like if like a high-end chocolatier was like, why do people like crunchy bars? Let me make my own spin on it, right? Like in the sense that like it's doing all the beats, but it's doing them in different ways and a little like, stronger in the sense of more depth. That's not just like, it's got this cheap chocolate taste and this honeycomb crispness. Walk away, you're gonna have a sugar bomb. I really like this. I'm already thinking, yeah, I could probably swing to Bottles and Books, mostly because like this is a beer that I live with two of my housemates like beers, but don't like beer and will try things, but don't generally buy random beers. And so occasionally, so when I have a craft beer of an odd taste profile, I'm like, oh, definitely try this, right? This is the thing I was like, oh, I actually kind of want to get another can just so I can share it with them because it's very interesting and but very solid. It's still like, hey, you want a stout? This is good. It's just doing some sweet stuff, but you're still going to enjoy it as a stout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the place that I buy beers from nowadays, they have that in stock, so I might get that delivered to me.
Definitely do. Good.
How about you, Ben? I see you're supping your...
I am. Similar in colour to the last beer, maybe a little bit deeper. Not much. I'm not going to spill when I lace against the glass, but it sticks around a little bit more on the lacing than the last beer. But it's very, very light in its nose and in its flavour. It's not a huge, not a big sort of flavour going on at all. And I feel that drinking these, even from the slightly higher ABV, it might have been a bit more beneficial to have had this one first because the Wylam had such a big flavour to it. I think at the moment this is being beaten down a little bit from that previous beer still. But as an initial taste, whilst it's very light, it has this slight odd quality in the nose, and it's really hard to know what it is, which is why I smelt it and I was like, well, I've got to taste it because I've got no idea what this is. And I wonder whether it comes out more in the taste. But when tasting it, it's like super subdued. It's incredibly light. So I think I'm going to have to just park my thoughts, drink it, and come back to it at the end of the episode. See how, whilst the other beer dissipates from my palate and this one takes over and it starts to present a little bit more. I don't think I'm in the best position to be able to talk about what it tastes like straight away. So I'll come back to it, I think. I mean, I've got a whole can, so I'm sure I'll know exactly what I'm talking about at the end of the episode when we come back to discuss our beers before we leave for the evening. But we'll get back into our video game topics and conversations. Lucy, we'll come to you for what you've been up to? What you been playing? Anything you want to chat about this week?
I went back and I finished Mutropolis, adventure game, which I was playing pre-release at first, and my issues with that game continued throughout the whole of it. Really, there was just too many, misdirections and red herrings in that game,
right,
which is just like a cardinal sin, if you ask me. If point-and-click adventure games, you can have, weird, wacky solutions to puzzles, but don't point someone in a completely different direction and then expect them to, make a leap in logic and stumble across a novel one. One of the most egregious examples was you needed 4 or 5 cold things for one reason or another.
Cold things.
Cold things. Yeah. So
right.
ice cubes and ice, and there's one part where it's okay, there's this tree, and then you can change the seasons, and then one of the seasons is obviously winter, and there's snow at the bottom of the tree. So you're thinking, oh, snow is one of them. It was literally the last cold item I needed. Snow was one of them. And it's okay, collect the snow. And then when you collect the snow, the guy says, oh, it's going to melt, as soon as I step away from this cold tree. Because it's quite warm in the rest of this building. So you step away and it's oh, the snow melted. So you're thinking, how am I going to transport that snow up there, to another floor in this building without it melting? Considering that most of the, this section of the game, I had ice cubes in my pocket, and those were not melting. And those were used for, as one of the cold things.
Yeah.
I was how come I don't know the properties and the density of a snowball versus ice cubes, which will melt faster, but why can one not melt and then the other one does? And I was okay, whatever, it's a video game. There are some strange things like that. And in the end, it's not even the snow that you need to take up to this thing to cool it down. It's it still has to do with the tree, but it's one of the icicles on the tree that you need. And it's just a whole thing where it's okay, I need to reach up to that branch. The branch is too high. Okay, then whack this whatever you have at it. It's okay, I have a stick, just whack it there. It's no, you can't do that. But it was just ridiculous how it's you let me pick up the snow. You have a voice clip where you're saying, oh, the snow's gonna melt. It's so surely you're thinking I have to transport the snow up there. That's the solution, but it was nothing. The snowball is just no, nothing.
Brilliant.
Has nothing to do with the rest of the game. There was just too many things like that. At the end of the game, you're distracting this cat for another reason or another, and it's okay, use this coin at this bell, and then as the cat goes and looks at that, it's okay, crawl over here, and you find a yarn ball. It's okay, perfect, a yarn ball. Let me throw this yarn ball at the cat. Can't throw it at the yarn ball at the cat to distract it that way. You're just thinking, okay, there's only one thing left in my inventory, and that's a fishing rod. So you'd think, ooh, let me put the fishing rod, attach that to the yarn ball, and dangle it over this cat.
Much like cat toys you can buy.
Yeah, but that doesn't work for some reason.
But also seems like a point-and-click adventure.
Instead, you have to go.
Lucy, we've lost you.
You've gone.
Yeah.
Dark.
Hey.
Oh, you're back.
Right. Am I back?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I don't know what happened there.
The devs hacked your account because you're mildly critiquing them.
Oh, this game is annoying me, man. It was just so annoying. But no, instead of dangling the yarn ball over the cat, you have to go back and talk to this person and say, "Oh, maybe you can throw the yarn ball." It's like,
Oh.
yeah, it was a thing. It was yeah, and then I just ended up going to play Curse of Monkey Island.
Yeah, I saw you playing that most of the day.
I was like, it's because I put it on my Surface and I just let it idle. It's like because I don't actually turn the Surface off, so it probably says I've been playing it for 68 hours, which is not the case. But yeah, and I was just like, should just go and play a game that is cozy and that I like. And, yeah, even that from 1997, like the puzzles are not as obtuse. And there's not many, there's no misdirections and stuff like that. Just thinking, why? It's like we've come a long way. I don't know if it's like, it can't be like budgetary constraints where it's like, oh, we were going to do something with the snowball and then we didn't. It's like just, I don't know how easy it would be to just hack out that part of the game.
Yeah.
But it's just,
I mean, it can't be hard just to remove that. Just remove the object, so nothing happens around it, right?
Yeah, but there were some puzzles where it's like, okay, this is a solution to this puzzle, but it's not one that you'd ever think.
Right.
You've given me the information there, and it's like, okay, and like there's a like a safe code that you have to crack, and you're looking at these photos, and you're thinking, okay, the first number in the series is going to be this one because there's like several pictures on a corkboard, and like one of them is like, okay, she won first place in this competition. She got a gold in this competition. There's a newspaper clipping of how she got silver in this competition, and then it's like, okay, so that's going to be the first and second numbers in the or whatever icons in the code. But it's like, no, it's just all the pictures where she looks sad.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just like,
sounds
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You're like, you're pointing me in that direction, and then you're just like, whoop. And then even so, even with that as the solution, like not every thing in the series actually corresponded to that. So I'm just like, it's got a nice art style, and I don't think the jokes were funny. Like the jokes didn't land with me, and it's very rough around the edges. Like it crashed on me a few times, but I was like, what, I'll see it through, and I did. It's not that long, especially if you got a guide, which I just did towards the end because I was getting frustrated. But I think there's just better point and click adventure games that you can play nowadays.
Yeah, it's
that
so
emulate
many.
that style.
What made you, or what makes you, go back to Curse of Monkey Island?
Because I was like, I want to play a good point and click.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But why pick that one? Why not play like Broken Age again, or?
Because I've never actually finished Curse of Monkey Island.
Okay.
So I was just like, let me go back to it. Because I don't usually replay them, so unless I'm just like, okay, I played this back in the day, but I didn't actually complete it. So yeah, I was just like, let me go play a very good game, very good point and click. That's what I did. Yeah, I've aired my grievances about that game. There are better point and clicks out there. So maybe go play one of them if you're interested. The other game that I played, there was another game that I played, but Aadil's also played that. But there was another game that I played, which is called Room to Grow, which is a Steam game, little puzzle game, where you're playing as this cactus, and you're basically moving. You can extend your body. It's sort of like a snake game, in that sense.
Oh.
And you're moving these plant pots over to these particular spots. It's very, reminiscent of stuff like Steven's Sausage Roll or How to Build a Snowman or a Perfect Snowman is Hard to Build or whatever it's called. Yeah, I think the game is it's definitely hard. It definitely starts off hard. It's like I got stuck on level 9 for like I was just like I gotta move on, which is good because it allows you to select different levels if you're stuck on one of them. And it allows you to skip levels as well, which is good.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like I can't wrap my head around that. I'll just skip it, which is good. It's like, I mean, there's walkthroughs everywhere nowadays, but it's just like, yeah, it's good to give people that option. But I think looking at screenshots, it actually looks like quite basic, like someone made it in Paint.
Yeah.
But when you're actually playing the game, it looks way better.
Okay.
It looks much better in motion. It's got a nice bit of animation to the cactus and quite colourful. The colours really do pop, and yeah, it's got this weird, eccentric soundtrack, which is nice. I'm sure it'd get annoying after looking at a level like for 10 hours, but otherwise it's sweet. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'll probably have to look at a walkthrough eventually because I don't want my brain to be broken in a million different ways.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, there's not much to say really. It's just one of those puzzle games. You're either going to love them or hate them. I'm always happy to give them a chance because they can end up like a Monsters Expedition, where it's like, this is making my brain hurt, but it's just in a good, manageable way. Whereas some things like Baba Is You or something, you just can't see the solution, and you're never going to.
Yeah, that's fair.
It goes somewhere in between those two, and I'm not sure where this lands just yet. I think it's gonna stray towards the Baba Is You camp, but yeah, it gives you those options where it's like, yeah, you can skip a level and you can just immediately rewind your last step all the way back to the beginning, which is a real help. So yeah, it's good. It's good little budget game if you just want to get your brain in a twist.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Good. Nice and relaxed time getting frustrated with point and clicks and puzzle games then.
Getting frustrated because my brain can't understand where this stupid cactus has got to go. Yeah.
Good.
That's why I played Curse of Monkey Island then, to de-stress.
Nice. Good. So Aadil.
Yep.
We can come on to you for the end of the show. What would you like to chat about this week?
What game Lucy was thinking I played?
The super hot John Wick.
Tights and Fight Faces or whatever. Yeah, that's the one I was going to talk about. Fights and Tight Spaces. Which it's got very super hotty vibes. It's it's very monochrome. You're a black silhouetted character, and your enemies are red. And then the whole world is basically white.
Tones of red as well, though, right? They're not all. They're not all just like blood red. They're tones of red.
Yeah, so, I mean, purpley, beetrooty.
In fact, the bosses are like this deep sort of maroony color. Yeah, I played it last Thursday because we had some rescheduling for First Looks. It's in early access.
Yes.
Came early access last February 24th. And it I'm surprised Lucy played it because it is a card-based game.
I like some I like card-based games where it's like there's an extra layer on top of that, and not just these stock animations of these
Yeah, I mean,
cards.
the real selling point on this is so it's a deck builder, turn-based tactics game, but you are this secret agent, and your decks will be premised on like super aggressive or counter-based or defensive, and you are it's essentially like it's a card-based tactics game. So like you've got the grid of squares you're on, you can see where all your enemies are. What you can just hover over your enemies and it says they're going to do this and the range of this is that, so therefore if someone is in their range they will attack them. If it's you or someone else, they'll attack them. And then you get to play your cards. You have 3 mana essentially, right? I think and you also have a combo meter, so certain cards you can use up your combo meter. Every time you move a square it goes down in a combo meter, which is a thing it didn't quite tell you. There's a couple things that, because it's early access, you can forgive, but it like does a good job overall of giving you direction on what means what. But then there's some gaps that are sort of frustrating to figure out that that's not how that works, because it gave you a incomplete description. But overall, it's fun. And then, like I said, so it's a lot of dodging or like blocking and then countering. And then at the end of a level, it does the super hot thing without the quickness or the overlay with super hot. And that is, you can choose to replay the level, and then it'll do all of the moves kind of cinematically. So there's like a baseline view. It's sort of pseudo isometric. And then you can hit Q and E to rotate in like 90-degree chunks.
No, I
around.
didn't do that.
A couple times I needed to, but overall I basically tried to treat it the same. And then when it does the replay, it has that fixed, but every time you like do a punch or whatever, it'll change the angle and have you punch the guy. So it feels kind of cinematic, but in a very obvious, like, all the movement is from this exact angle, and then when you kill the guy, it switches to this angle. But it feels nice to see your moves, just kind of like John Wick Hex had, right?
It works well in that sense. I thought it was quite ironic that it starts up the game. It's like Mode 7 and Biffle games, and it's like, and the animations in John Wick Hex on the replay look so herky jerky and not right. Whereas this is, because I was like, oh, I can replay. I wonder what that's gonna look like. A bit tentatively, I was like, oh god, what is that gonna be? Just because of the John Wick X animations, but yeah, it moved very smoothly. It looked nice. It was a bit slow. I think the thing about this game that is kind of at odds with its mechanics is the fact that everything feels kind of slow, where it feels like you're in these very tight melee focused choke points. It feels like it would just be like gun fu in John Wick in real time, but it is very it feels a bit stilted in that sense. It feels like there should be like some more,
and that's actually
more heft and like
and I think
to it, like the animations
that kind of comes across when it does the replay, because so one of the things that's really frustrating is some of the things like move X squares or whatever, it's not immediately clear, and there's no good indication of like whether you'll turn around or back up or sidestep. So because some of them are like walk around and then or move one, and then it's not clear whether I will change my orientation or not. It is clear if I do the sidestep that I won't.
Right.
But if I choose the move one mode, it's not clear. And a couple times I got kind of screwed by, I'm going to move this way, and you would think the default of move would be pivot, walk. but it's not. And then what you end up doing is running right into exposing your blind spot to someone, which once you know that's going to happen after a couple of times of trying to figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, this is this is fine. But also when you watch the replay, it kind of ruins that cinematic replay because you're like, boof, boof, bah, bleh, and then you're like, bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop. Don't face anyone. Shake your little tushy. And then that guy approaches you, and then you turn around and you punch him, and you're like, that's not John Wick Hex. Like, that's not John Wick at all. John Wick wouldn't keep his back to everyone for like a minute and a half after like awkwardly sidestepping instead of just running. Like, and I think that's what makes it very clear that it's replaying the steps exactly how they were done, and that you have some of these movements are non-fluid because the card doesn't say pivot or it does say pivot, you know, whatever the thing that went weird was, right? So I thought I really liked it. I also thought the intro deck was not great. I didn't get that far in it. I kind of got trounced while I was figuring it out, but it unlocked this counter deck which I think works really well. Both I beat the first boss and I got partway through the next level, but also because it was about like hit me and I'll punch you, it felt very much more like an action movie, right? You're like block, punch, and like half of my kills were me setting up enough block that I would take minimal damage or none, but also counterattack, which just made the replay of the fight scene feel really fight scene-y, right? Because it's not just like when the first deck you kind of have to play of like, I'm going to just zoom around and punch you and not get hit. So if I get hit, I lose health and I'll die. But then the zooming around is this weird bunny hopping stuff. And it's also inefficient. And so that second deck made me feel a lot better about it in both gameplay and like my abilities, but also in the replay. It just felt much more like what they were trying to sell.
Yeah.
So this is a game I'm going to keep an eye on because I really liked it. Ben, you watched, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any comments?
Yeah, it was fun. I'm very interested in playing this. It's super stylish. I think maybe what we haven't quite conveyed from what you said is it's a puzzle game.
Yeah. I mean, it's deck based.
It is a deck based kind of strategy, but you are.
I would say it's less puzzle just because of the randomization of the deck.
It is random. Yes, it is random for the deck. I think maybe people come in at the same sort of points on a level, and there will be efficiency in how you get over that. And you know, you're kind of alluding to that in the way that your movement to the character will like hop to the side a little bit, but actually it might have been more efficient had you have spawned a different card to have done something differently. So there is a little bit of randomization within that. So it's a bit more of an open sort of puzzle with multiple ways of being able to combat that. But it looks very good. It's very brutal in some ways. Like, you know, you smash someone's head.
Smashing people.
Absolutely.
I like doing the knuckle thing, just basically.
I like that it has those like flashes of brutality, and then you're like, right, now I can sit back, I can assess what I've got, I can assess where everyone is, and I can kind of chill out. And it is John Wick, but on a very slow burn, assess what you're doing kind of way. And I mean, for me, brilliant. I want high action, but I also want it to be slow because I am an old, slow human these days. I mean, I think my Twitch reactions are nowhere near what they used to be. So to have that moment to assess and organize is really good.
I mean, I'll build on that, and I think like it is a strategy game. I would hesitate on puzzle just because. Part of it is very like slay the spire, like, because certain you go to a gym on. So basically, you start a level, and there's going to be a branching tree of path to the boss, and it'll have different locations you can choose to fight in, like bar, like the street fighting one. The first level is like bar, restaurant, alleyway, etc. And then you go to a prison. It's like, whatever. But there's also gyms, which allow you to upgrade or buy cards, and then medics, which allow you to heal.
Yeah.
And then there's the boss fight. And this this means you can plan your paths and sort of switch it, because it's sort of branching but re-looping. So there's that. There's also like you earn money, which allows you to upgrade cards, and so like it is very much like a roguelike card deck building game, in the sense of like you get certain power-ups that like are essentially like artifacts in other deck building games that sort of are persistent on your runs. But other than that, it's just like I start with a stock deck, and then I choose which cards to add to it, and maybe sometimes, if I can afford it, to get rid of, and which ones to upgrade. And because the deck is doing all the work, so yeah, RNG might fuck you, where you're like, I have no counter moves and just move. Like I just have moves, so I need to dodge around for an entire turn cycle, and then hope I will either get counter and punch, or just enough counters that I can survive. And then it's going to suck, because all I have is punches, so if I punch them, they'll punch me, and it's just a bad fight. And that's just the way it is. And that's why it feels much more like a strategy game than a puzzle game, because you aren't guaranteed to be unscathed, no matter how good your deck is, because the RNG might just screw you. But that's also why I like card-based games. I mean, I've played Monster Train and a couple other ones, Neoverse lately, and this feels really tight for an early access game. Like I said, there was just a couple tooltip-y things that once I knew, I was kind of prepared for. There's also like one class of mob does an auto attack, and they're just like, if someone comes in range, they'll attack. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll put a guy in front of him. Didn't get hit. And you're like, and then I like punched someone else, and then they punched me, and it was like, I don't understand what auto attack means. And I had to like go through several fights to figure out, like, kind of trial and error, and just paying attention of, now he's punched me. Okay, that's what this means. But again, it's early access, and I think that's fine, and I hope they polish that part up, because it sucks when you're like, I've made this strategic plan based on all the information on the table, but I didn't understand that this information didn't quite mean this. Like, that's when you get a feel bad, because it's a strategy game. It's not about Twitch reactions. So when you have looked at everything like, this is what I will do, and I shouldn't get hit, and then you get hit immediately, you're like, what the fuck? And then you realize it's because the game told you a thing that you didn't understand was the thing, not I misplayed the order or whatever. Like, that's when feel bads come with these games, is when you feel like you had all the information in the world and you didn't, versus I had all the information in the world, I still didn't know how to figure it out, and then I get hit, right? Like, that's just me failing the strategy. But yeah, I really liked it. I also, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely, I'll probably go back to it. I can't remember when it's supposed to release.
Neither can I.
Oh, so they just have the early access release date, but I don't think they're.
Okay. There may not be a roadmap. But I played the demo for this on Steam last year, and there's also a demo on Xbox. Yeah, I
didn't realize there was an Xbox game as well.
Yeah, Xbox game preview, which lets you play for an hour for free, basically. And then you have to buy the game, so it's on early access there as well. But yeah, as you say, deck building games not usually my jam, but just the whole style and package that it's in just makes it way more intriguing to me.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah,
good.
But yeah, it's promising so far. So I'll also keep an eye on it.
Nice. Just to give some information from the Steam page, under early access, with all early access games, they have like a Q&A underneath. Approximately how long will this game be in early access? Likely less than a year is the answer to that.
I mean, so that's like winter, fall at the earliest.
Yeah,
then, right?
Yeah. So maybe holiday 2021, roughly. if not perhaps first quarter 2022. And there's lots of information. You go to the Steam page, there's lots of information about the early access and what's included and what may differ in the full release of the game as well.
I mean, the thing that intrigues me the most is a thing that's on the menu that isn't in the game right now, which is the daily challenge. I was really curious what that would be. And I think it's probably like Hitman...
Deus Ex.
Same thing, right? Those Square Enix Go games, right? Where there's like a map and you have a leaderboard. What I like about that is it's like... But it's a deck building game, so I feel like the daily challenge might be more akin to a puzzle game, because then it might be like you have
set
this
number
deck,
of cards. Yeah,
and maybe they give you the starting hand, and then it's like, can you maximize this?
And a fewest number of moves.
Yeah, which would be a really interesting way to use the same mechanics but have a very different type of gameplay, right? Like. Because then the RNG is out, then you're optimizing versus this very different game, which is like, okay, my hand is this now. And if you're really good at these card games, you're like, I'm paying attention to my discard pile, and I know that these cards are still left in my deck. I never do this. Some people might. Yeah.
It's like counting cards in poker.
Oh,
like,
so yeah. So that's actually brings me to the my biggest critique when I was playing it was I actually had to restart the tutorial because I opened the discard pile and it was like, can't leave. Fuck. Clicked all the things. I swear I tried all the things. It turns out later I realized that you could right click to right click anywhere and the discard splash screen goes away. And I have no idea if because I was in the middle of the tutorial whether I tried that and it didn't work because of a bug, or it was just that like I thought I tried all the things, but so much of the game is primary clicking on things. It didn't occur to me to right click. I don't know, but like from then on I realized I could just hit the right click button. Escape didn't work, but right click did. So things like that are really frustrating, especially when you have to go through like a 31-point tutorial again because you deigned to reread a card, right? But again, it's early access, but that's sort of I think it's exemplary of the like it's not quite there polish wise on the directions they give you. They're just not quite there. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked it more than like Neoverse, which is an out. I think Neoverse is just out. Yeah, it's out on Game Pass. It's less polished than Monster Train, but a very different vibe. Much more strategy versus standard deck building game. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I would recommend it if you don't want the early access experience, but it's definitely something that if you're into these types of games, keep an eye on it until that, like later this year when it comes out.
I'm sure it will only get better.
Yeah. Kind of just to round that out. I think it's Paul Kidduff, who is Mode 7, who is the publisher for the game, has tweeted out several hours ago, so today, Flights in Tight Spaces early access roadmap and info is on the way very soon.
Okay.
So tweaks, fixes, and improvements all coming very soon, and then more, and then onto more content. So you mentioned earlier, don't know whether there was a roadmap out. There's not, but there will be one very soon.
Someone finished the game and they were like, "Oh, feed me."
Yes, yeah. So that's to come. So keep up with us. It's probably a game that we will check in with every now and again, as we have with the few sort of early access games that have piqued our interests over the last few years. And one which, again, we'll probably be talking about at the end of the year when it's in its full release, to see what those changes, what those improvements, what those differences are. Nice. Let's finish there for this week, then. Aadil, you and I have had some beers.
We have.
I might just jump in because I'm going to talk about.
Well, you didn't. You hadn't given your full thoughts on that one.
Exactly,
did you?
And I've almost finished it now.
Do you still have?
I have finished it.
That would be interesting.
It's very soft. Even after the first beer, I'm thinking it's quite soft. Is it this bit subdued? It's still a very soft beer, but it's very, very nice. it's even more, not malty than the first beer, but it blends the malts and the hops in very, very well. So I've got this lovely, slightly sweet, almost kind of bready feel to it. And it's kind of sat underneath a little bit of the fruit that the hops is kind of like pushing. And the fruit is tropical, but very, very soft, like super, super soft. And I've got this nice sweet kind of bready feel,
Super soft.
but also this this slight kind of like toffee sort of flavour to it as well. I don't know. You know, last year we had the Altogether project, which took a recipe from like Other Half or someone like that. I can't remember now.
Right?
And people like iterated on it a little bit. And this is from Finback, but it's got that like softness of an American beer. It has that combination of hoppiness and malts that you get from an American beer. You know, like there's several American breweries which make absolutely fantastic beer and just balance everything perfectly and have excellent kind of like malt builds and the choice of hops and things like that. This is like really easy, super soft, not quite an enigma in terms of the flavors that I'm getting, but it presents enough kind of like, oh, is it this, or it kind of feels a little bit like this. Like it doesn't hit you with any one kind of flavor too much. And it was like 8% or something. I mean, this could apart from the mouthfeel and the kind of body to it, you're not getting that 8% whatsoever. Like, it's so soft, it's so easy, and it's just really, really nice.
Nice.
It's a beer that I could sit and drink all day, every day. It's one of those just not quite indescript flavors, but just very easy, very soft sorts of flavors, which is just very, very pleasant. And as I say, there's maybe a little bit of a hint of bready malts, a little bit of toffee in there, perhaps, and tropical fruit, which I, at least at the moment, am finding hard to pick out. Like that may still be the Wylam being such a big beer that it's kind of affecting that a little bit, but fantastic. Both beers for me this week are very, very good. And I'm going to do a Lucy because she's not drinking and say that drink both beers. Go out and buy both beers. They're both excellent. I don't think I have a preference. I would drink both beers again now, very easily. So I don't think I can.
Answer.
I mean,
Yeah.
Do that.
Only Lucy gets to say that answer.
You're allowed. It's fine.
I disagree,
For this
but I
week.
have no basis on this disagreement.
For this week, I'm picking both.
Right. I mean, that's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, the cat just can't wait for the end of the episode. I liked both of these a lot. I also am struggling because they're very different beers. The answers within the question, boy, do you not realize that's 10%. It manages to be raspberry tarty, but still keep its beerness, which I think is really hard to do, and which shows it's a well-balanced collaboration between Pomona Island and Cloudwater. Really excellent. And then you switch to the New Bristol Brewery's Big Cinder Toffee Stout, and it's this blowtorched kind of honeycomb is such an excellent descriptor. It just is that. It is a stout. It's 6.5%. So it's a medium range ABV. gives it just enough thickness of texture, but the sweetness that the lactose gives smooths out the very burnt forward honeycomb blowtorched notes, such that the thing is super well balanced. I like both these beers. You're never not going to go wrong with either of them. But I'm going to give it to the New Bristol Brewery just because it was a little more beery. Like it still had its beer core while doing something very interesting, but also just to be honest, it's like those like burnt toffee malty notes are just very stouty, and it's a thing I could easily reach for if I wanted a stout that was like maybe a little more desserty, while the answers when the question was still a beer. Like I said, it's not one of these things that I've complained about in the past where it's like it's just this fruit bomb or it's just this thing that like happens to be made the same way as beers but doesn't taste like a beer, although it looked like it. In the end, I think like I would order a second. As I said, I will kind of what clinches it for the big Cinder Toffee Stout for me is that like I was like, oh, I want to share this with people in my house who are starting to try new different beers.
Yes.
And I didn't have the same idea with the answers within the question. In the same way, I was still looking forward to sharing it, but having the majority of it. It's like, yeah, I'll give a taste to this second can to these housemates, but I'll also have a big chunk of it as well. It's like, oh, I want another one of these, and I want to spread it sort of organically. And so that's why, despite them both being very good beers, doing sort of non-standard beer things while still retaining the core of beerness. It's the Big Cinder Toffee Stout from New Bristol Brewery this week for me, because I can make a choice.
That's fair. Good. If you'd like to tell Aadil why he's wrong and he should have picked both beers, you can do so by going to @theomniarch on almost all of the platforms and on the Twitters. You can get me at Nova_47. You can get Lucy at JuicyLuce9 on pretty much everything these days.
Yes, but don't. I'm off the grid.
That's fine. Don't shout at. You can get all of us at Tanked Up Cast on Twitter, on Instagram. Go to outoflives.net to listen to the podcast or see our beautiful faces as we embed the YouTube video. You can go to YouTube Out of Lives Network as well, or outoflives.net to look at all of the other articles and listen to all of the other shows we do. We are here live on Twitch every week. I was going to say every Tuesday, but we occasionally differ.
I think you would say every Tuesday,
but
we'll post otherwise.
Yeah, roughly every Tuesday. We are here every week to talk about the beers that we're drinking, to discuss the games or anything around gaming that we would like to for the week. We have other shows. We have Geek Out Weekly, where Aadil, you and I geek out on a weekly basis, not so strongly, about various different topics. And this week we had David Towsey from Pillbug Interactive as our guest, so that'll be up as a podcast as well, which you can find in your podcast service of choice. We also do First Look Tuesdays, and Aadil played Sanity of Morris. Is that what it was called?
It is what it is.
You played the preview version of that today. Yes. Sanity
I didn't
of
talk about
Morris.
it today because you can watch the VOD, the chat about tights and fights and spaces and whatnot, or whatever it's called. It was more fruitful. But Sanity of Morris is what I looked at. You can catch the VOD. It'll be out by the time this episode is dropped on your podcast of choice.
Yeah. We will be.
It's a spookies.
Yes, it's a spooky game. Yeah.
I did get spooked once.
Mm-hmm.
And I got frustrated.
That's interesting.
Trigger warning, Lucy, spiders.
Yeah. Oh, that's
only at one point.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
One light point. Tomorrow we'll be back with some Outriders over for the lunch break. If you are listening to this as the podcast, then that will be up again on the YouTube channel or on the Twitch channel as a VOD, and you can go back and revisit that. And then on Friday evenings we have Radari, who's taking a little bit of a break at the moment, and we'll be back in the future playing the games that he enjoys, like Apex and a few of the narrative kind of driven games. As I've said, you can get all of us at Tanks Upcast almost everywhere. That's everything. That's all of the places that we inhabit and the spaces that we are and the things that we do.
I will say that currently, according to Discord, there are 3 members of this call, and Juicy Loose is currently playing the Cursive Monkey Eye ...
That's why you can't see my hands.
I just glanced down and I was like,
ignored us the whole episode, just like...
I'm sure... Am I playing? No. I don't know. No.
I mean, that's what Discord
I
says.
playing it.
Discord be both.
I stopped playing it to play Fights Into Spaces, so...
Oh.
Discord just doesn't
It's
know.
just the curse.
Yeah.
It's the curse.
That's it. That's it. Forever you'll be playing the Curse of Monkey Island on Discord.
I wouldn't mind that. I'm going to
Of
crawl
all the
into
games if you were stuck with.
I'm going to crawl into a dark hole.
Oh my god. The cat is sulking. I don't know if you can see it. The cat is literally just like,
Sat by the door.
hey, could you shut the fuck up and open the door?
Yep.
I'm just a blob by the door. Sorry.
So for Dorian, we'll finish this week, I think.
Yeah.
Just for his sanity. The sanity of Dorian is the sequel to the game that you have played. Very different though. So for this week, we've been tanked up. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net